Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another exciting Timey-Wimey Tuesday. So, carrying on from the theme last week, where we took a look at, well, and the week before, where we took a look at my Doctor Who stuff on vinyl, a whole bunch of Doctor Who music and sound effects and cool stuff like that, on the good old black discs of doom. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I'm just kind of playing by ear, as it were. So today, I thought we'd take a dip into the dawn of digital. Yes, with all that I have remaining of Doctor Who stuff on CD. Only 4 selections, again, much like the records. I used to have a few more, at least 1 or 2 more. One more. I guess 1 more. There was always a lot more that I wanted to get, but they were just a little bit outside of my budget at the time. And then, of course, as the things I want often do, they went out of print. And now if you can find them, good luck getting them for a decent price. So I covet the few that I have, knowing that if I ever got rid of them, they'd be nigh on impossible to replace. So let's take a look. Doctor Who music on CD today on Timey-Wimey Tuesday on the Multimedia Chronicles. Alright, so to kick things off, back in 1988, the Doctor Who theme topped the charts, but it wasn't just the Doctor Who theme. It was a slightly remixed version of it by a group calling themselves the Time Lords. Yes, with this nice little ditty called Doctor in the TARDIS. Yeah, and what Doctor in the TARDIS was an interesting kind of experiment in repurposing existing music and taking it into the mixing booth and seeing what you could come up with. It was actually a mix, like an amalgamation of audio clips from Genesis of the Daleks, the Doctor Who theme, Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2, and what was it? Blockbuster by a group called Sweet. So it was basically a big mishmash of all of those elements, and the end result was a frickin' dance club sensation. This is just such a fun song, and this particular, there was quite a few releases of it over the years. The original vinyl releases, of course, and then the CD releases followed shortly thereafter. In fact, it may have been, yeah, it was actually at the same time. Yeah, 1988, which I guess was kind of the dawn of CD as well. So I think the earliest CDs that I own were from 1987, 86 maybe. Yeah, it was just really starting to happen at that point in time. So I originally picked this up actually in 1992. I remembered hearing the song on the radio quite a lot throughout the late 80s, and I think I had it recorded off the radio on good old audio cassette. But needless to say, I wanted to get the album, because of course the album has several different versions of it. And then on top of that, there's several different versions of the album. Yeah, so little story here. I originally bought this in 1992, loved it. My ex-girlfriend got pissed off and stole a bunch of my stuff in 1993, I guess, or 94, I guess it was. 93? I think it was 93. So she basically broke into my place with her new boyfriend and ripped me off while I was out of town. Stole a bunch of stuff, including this. So then, a few years later, eBay comes along, and I was like, hey, maybe I can find that old Doctor Who CD. Doctor in the TARDIS, get it back in the collection, yeah. And every single version I found was not the version I had. So apparently this is some kind of Canadian exclusive release that has a couple extra tracks on it that the wider release did not have. So yeah, and then I just lucked out. I found an eBay listing one day searching on a whim. It's like, I'm going to see if I can find that CD again. And lo and behold, there it was in absolutely pristine condition. So here we've got, this is the exact version that I used to have. And, you know, the versions that I've seen out most commonly have like 2 less tracks on them. So this actually has 6 tracks on it. So the band is listed as the Time Lords, with Ford Time Lord as the talent, Lord Rock at controls, and Time Boy at navigation. The actual group that did this was a group called the KLF, and they also have guest performer Gary Glitter himself, the guy who did Rock and Roll Part 2, doing vocals on some versions of the tracks here. So we've got 6 tracks. First we've got Gary in the TARDIS, which is basically just Gary Glitter being Gary Glitter mixed with some of the Doctor in the TARDIS audio. And then we got Doctor in the TARDIS, the Minimal Mix, which is a much more low-key version. It's quite cool. Doctor in the TARDIS, Gary Joins the Jams, which is more Gary Glitter in there. And then we got Doctor in the TARDIS, the 7-inch edit. Doctor in the TARDIS, the Instrumental, which removes all of the vocal samples, except I think for the Doctor Who sort of chant. And then finally, Doctor in the TARDIS, the 12-inch mix. The 12-inch mix is the 8-minute, 11-second version, which I think most people are familiar with. It actually seems to be the most common version. I don't hear the others very often. But one of the Gary Glitter ones and the minimal mix, I believe, were missing from a large number of releases of this. So, very cool. I'm going to intercut some close-up looks at these rather than zooming in back and forth. It's too much of a pain, so I'll film those after and cut them in. So let's take a closer look at the Doctor in the TARDIS CD right now. You know what? Instead of zooming in and messing around with the focus and everything, these are CD covers. I have a scanner. Let's just do some nice high-res scans of them, shall we? Here we go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that. That's way better than just freaking zooming in. What's this zooming in stuff? What is this? The 80s? Alright, so here we got a nice high-res scan of the front cover of the Canadian 6-track edition of the Time Lords, Doctor in the TARDIS. Oh yeah. And if we take a look at the back here, there you go, 6 tracks. Yeah, there's been a few different releases of this, as I mentioned, slightly different covers. Some of them say the KLF on the front rather than the Time Lords. But, yeah, and the one common link between them is all the other releases have fewer tracks. Like, some of them only have 4, some have 5. This is the most definitive edition I've ever seen of this release. So, this is the one you want if you can find it. And now we're back. Awesome. Okay, so carrying on. Next up, we get into some, yeah, I would have bought this one around the same time, actually. When did this one come out? This was released in 1991, and I bought it in, I believe, in 1992. I was really getting back into Doctor Who in the early 90s. Not only was it being shown on PBS, but YTV, the local, the Canadian Children's Channel, had also started showing it. So I was getting really back into it in full swing, which is kind of funny because 1991 is like 2 years after the show ended. But that's kind of the way I am with Doctor Who, and as well as other big franchises that I enjoy. I might kind of drift away from it a little bit, and then I'll just really get a hunger for it and just pour through all of the material I have and get some new stuff and things like that. And 1991-92 was kind of a period like that for me. I mentioned, I think, in one of my videos that it was the period that I bought the most... I bought the Doctor Who magazine most frequently, was during the Wilderness years, funny enough. Like, I was more of a fan, I guess more supportive of a fan during the Wilderness years than I was when the show was still on. It's kind of funny that it worked out that way. But, so next up we have Doctor Who Variations on a Theme. And basically what this is just a mini CD that has... 4 different interpretations of the Doctor Who theme, and really interesting. We've got Doctor Who the Mood version, composed, arranged, performed, and produced by Mark Ayres. We've got Doctor Who the Terror version, arranged and performed by Dominic Glynn. Doctor Who the Latin version, arranged, performed, and produced by Kev McCullough. And finally, Panopticon 8 Regeneration Mix, arranged, performed, and produced by Mark Ayres. Now, Mark Ayres, Kev McCullough, and Dominic Glynn were, of course, the in-house composers for the show at the time. So they were approached as part of, just a bit of fun here, I guess, to do some different versions of the Doctor Who thing, sort of their take on it. And yeah, and I absolutely love this album. I've listened to all 4 of these versions quite a lot. My favorites are the Terror version and the Latin version. I think they've got the most sort of excitement to them. The Latin version really shows just what a mean keyboardist Kef McCullough is. It's got a very jazzy kind of, like very jazz pianist kind of flavor to it, especially the latter half when it really gets going. It's a lot of fun. The Terror version is just great. Shows what a great sort of atmospheric, dark and sinister composer Dominic Glynn can be. He's done some great stuff. I wish he'd done more music for the show because I really like his style a lot. So yeah, anyway, really cool album. I'll just give you a quick look at the inside here. Yeah, there was a version of this released in the UK that actually had a square CD. So it was, because, I mean, the actual content of the CD is fairly small because it's only 4 tracks, so it would fit in the middle. So they had they had the actual edges cut into a square. I don't know why, just for something to do, I guess. And there's the 3 men themselves. You got Mark Ayres on the top, Dominic Glynn in the middle, Kef McCullough on the bottom. Yeah, Mark Ayres, you've probably seen a number of Doctor Who documentaries, Kef McCullough as well, talking about music and audio in general. And Dominic Glynn, I don't know that we've really seen in that many interviews, unfortunately, but I remember reading interviews with him before. Yeah, there we go. And then we just got some nice liner notes there from John Nathan Turner, producer of the show, and Mark Ayres himself talking about it a little bit, which is pretty cool. Is it just Mark Ayres? Yeah, so they didn't actually interview the others, alas. There was a great documentary produced in 1988 for the 25th anniversary by the New Jersey Network, a PBS station out of, well, New Jersey. They did a lot of documentaries about Doctor Who. They were big Doctor Who fans there and did all kinds of stuff. This was a really good one. They actually went to Britain during the filming of Silver Nemesis, the 25th anniversary story, and did like a big behind-the-scenes thing. Anyway, in the original aired version of that, there's a wonderful, and I think this is on the VHS release as well, actually. There's a wonderful interview with Kef McCullough in which he's actually composing music for Remembrance of the Daleks, and you get to see his studio and sort of his creative process and stuff, and that was really, really cool. Alrighty, so here we have the front cover of Doctor Who Variations on a Theme. Yeah. Now, for the next 3, including this one, they're all in jewel cases, and I don't feel like ripping out the insert from the back, so yeah, you'll just have to content yourself with the distant view of the back cover. Besides, most of them have the back cover more or less reprinted in the insert book anyway, so I'll just show you all the pages of the insert book. So here's the front cover, and then here's the back of the insert book. And you see the 3 fine gentlemen who provided the tunage on this CD. We've got Mark Ayres, Dominic Glynn, and Kef McCullough, who basically were the 3 gentlemen responsible for all the music during the last 4 seasons of the classic series. Awesome composers, all three of them. Yeah. And then since we're being thorough, we might as well take a look at the liner notes. So here's some insightful liner notes from Mr. John Nathan Turner himself, giving his thoughts on the 4 tracks on the album, and also giving some information about where they originated from. So apparently all 4 of these tracks were originally composed for various Doctor Who conventions and such, like big events that they would have every year. So they would do a version of the Doctor Who theme for each year, and these are 4 of them. And then finally we have liner notes from Mr. Mark Ayres himself, talking about his 2 contributions to the album. Very cool stuff indeed. Let's see. Next up, around the same time here, I picked up this one. We've got Doctor Who Ghostlight. And, oh no, this is actually from the 30th anniversary. So this would have been about 4 years later, so 1993. Oh, no, I guess I said I picked these up in 92, didn't I? Yeah, so this would have been 93, so like the next year I picked up Ghostlight. And this always reminds me of one of the ones that I no longer have, because I also used to have the soundtrack album of The Curse of Fenric, which was just a wonderful, wonderful soundtrack. Really, really good stuff. There was a third one as well, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, which I never owned, sadly. This is one of Mark Ayer's scores for the show. I love the score for Ghostlight. I've actually listened to this album, just put it on in the background while I'm doing stuff, more times than I can count. It's absolutely beautiful. By the way, I talked a little bit about the, when I did the disambiguation, the DVD disambiguation for season 26, I talked a little bit about the novel of Ghostlight. That's the same artwork that's on the novel cover, by the way. So, very nice. Alistair Pearson, I believe, did the artwork for that. He did most of the covers from that era. Really cool stuff. So, if we take a look inside, this is from Silva Screen Records. At the time, they were sort of one of the go-to companies for television soundtracks. They did a lot of good stuff. A lot of Doctor Who releases. They put out a bunch of soundtracks of The Prisoner, one of which I used to own. Sadly, do not anymore. But really, really good stuff. So once again, oh yeah, actually you can see right there, we got the Curse of Fenric soundtrack, which I wish I still had because it's stupidly expensive to get it now. I think they may have re-released it, so I might see if I can track that down at some point. Got Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and Myths and Other Legends, which is more of Mark Ayer's music, in particular stuff that he composed for Nicholas Briggs' wonderful interview series, Mythmakers, in which he interviewed a lot of Doctor Who cast and crew. Really, really good stuff. So we'll take a closer look at that one. So here we got an up-close look at the front cover of Ghostlight. Yeah, I always loved this Alistair Pearson artwork. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. He did some of the nicest later era book covers. Just an amazing artist. Really, really good stuff. Yeah, just love this cover. And then here, if you're curious, here's the complete track list, which, well, what more can you say about it? It's the track list. And it does present all of the tracks in story order as well. Now here's the back cover of the insert booklet. Here you can see the Curse of Fenric edition that I used to have. I never owned either of the other two there, Greatest Show in the Galaxy or Myths and Legends. But I did have that Curse of Fenric, and I've been cursing myself for getting rid of it for some reason. I don't know. Actually, I think it may have been one of the things that was stolen. I don't remember, honestly. I can't imagine I ever would have sold it, so it must have been one of the things that was stolen. Good news, though, I did find out they reissued it a few years back, and the reissue is actually quite affordable, so I may just have to pick that up at some point. And then here we have the rather extensive liner notes from the inside of the booklet. We've got a few words from Mark Platt, the writer of the story, and his thoughts on the music. And then quite a lot of stuff from Mark Ayers, all about the composition of the music. Very cool. Always interesting to hear what Mark Ayers has to say. I just find him a really fascinating guy with a lot of insight into not only the world of Doctor Who music, but also the world of audio restoration. Just really, really interesting guy. And then finally, just to be thorough, here's the last page of the insert there. This is basically the third interior page of the booklet, just with all the copyright info and a bit of the front cover in black and white. And there we go. Alrighty, so last, but most certainly not least, even though chronologically it came out before these, I didn't pick it up until after, but we have Doctor Who, the 25th anniversary album. Yes. So I guess chronologically this would have come out around the same time as this, and then these would have come out after, but this is actually the most recent one I got. I don't actually remember where I got this. It may have been an eBay auction. I honestly don't remember. But it wasn't that long ago. It was like within the past few years. So this is a nice selection of stuff here. I've actually got, oh boy, the case is just falling apart. I should probably replace that. But we got the old school logo on there and some, you know, yeah, not a lot of artwork, but a little bit anyway. And then here we got some nice liner notes. Just take a quick look here. So we got that. We got very short liner notes, actually, just a little blurb from John Nathan Turner there. and then we got the full track list with composer info there. Yeah, this is I mean, this is a pretty cool selection. Now the thing is, even though this is the 25th anniversary story, remember how Doctor Who the music, the album that I have on vinyl, I was mentioning how it mostly featured music from the 80s series. Well, it's very much the same thing with the 25th anniversary album, even though it's the 25th anniversary album, and you would expect it to be celebrating the whole spectrum of Doctor Who music over that time. It really doesn't. You basically have, what is it? You've got 4 versions of the theme music. So you've got, or no, 5. You've got 5 versions of the theme music. So, I mean, one of the reasons to get this is you get every version of the theme song ever from the classic series, from TARDIS Doctor Who through the 1980 version, and the you get the 1986 version, I think, and then the 1987 version. And then there's another one that's just called, there's like 3 tracks on here that are just called Doctor Who. I'm not entirely sure what the second of those tracks is, because they have TARDIS Doctor Who, followed by Doctor Who. I don't know. Then you've got Gavrock's Search, A Child's Return, Towers, El Paradiso. Basically, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but basically this is all stories from seasons 24, 25, or all tracks from seasons 24, 25, and 26. And that's it. Other than the Doctor Who theme songs, that's all that's on this album. So that may be a little disappointing to some people, but to be perfectly honest, I think the last 3 seasons of the show had some fantastic music. I actually really liked the new direction they took with the style of music for the series there, and I thought it really punched things up nicely. But you know, we know how long that lasted. Anyway, we'll take a quick closer look at that. Okay, since filming the other segments, I did take a listen to all of the tracks here just so I could give you a bit more of an informed bit of info about what they all are. So this, of course, is the Doctor Who 25th Anniversary album, which is quite a cool collection. And you'll notice the composers on it are Kev McCullough, Ron Grainer, basically just given a token credit for the Doctor Who theme, and Dominic Glynn. So if we take a look, we've got the liner notes here from John Nathan Turner, once again, just talking about some of the tracks included on the album here. Now, speaking of which, let's take a look at the actual track listing. This is on the inside of the booklet. Yeah, so if you take a look here, this is the 25th anniversary album, which and I found this particular collection of tracks an odd selection, because this is entirely tracks from the last 4 seasons. Specifically, I mean, I was kind of puzzled about track 2 there, which Doctor Who theme it is. It's the opening theme from the 1987 to 89 seasons, so it's the last version of the theme song composed by Kev McCullough, which was used during the last 3 seasons of the show. Track 11 is the 1980 version. Track 12 is the 1986 version used during the Trial of a Time Lord season. And then finally, track 21 is the end title from the 1987-89 series. The only version of the theme, really, that isn't here is the so-called New Beginning version of the original theme, which was used from, was it 1967 to 1979. That's the version that I'm most familiar with. And rather than just having the clean version of the Doctor Who theme, we have the TARDIS version, which was I previously talked about when I talked about the Doctor Who the Music album that I have on vinyl. So anyway, basically it's all tracks from the last few seasons, which are great tracks. Don't get me wrong, I love the music from the last 4 seasons of the show, as I've said on numerous occasions. I just found it odd that they only chose stuff from the tail end of the series for the 25th anniversary album. You know, it seems kind of an odd selection, but oh well. Hey, better than nothing, right? Alrighty, well. And there you have it. So that's all the Doctor Who CDs that I have these days. There we go. That's a little better. Yeah, I definitely miss the ones that I used to have. Well, the one that I used to have. Wish I had more, because honestly, I love all the music from Doctor Who from over the years. There's been some wonderful composers, for sure. I really like the sort of the more classical feel of the 70s. I love a lot of the stock music actually used in the 60s episodes. I think some of it is really creepy and atmospheric and wonderful. And I mean, some of that stuff is on the the Out of This World album that I have, and I'd love to get like a digital version of that just for convenience. But you know, and there have been other collections put out, like of there was actually a CD collection put out of the various library music used in Doctor Who. It still wasn't all of it. They used a ton over the course of Doctor Who. Like, I noticed, I've heard the album before. I've noticed that there was a number of tracks that I was hoping to hear that weren't in there. But definitely a worthy collection to check out. And there's been a lot of other compilations of Doctor Who music over the years, which, of course, always seem to come out when I have no money. So at some point, now that the Classic Series collection is done on DVD, you know, I'll be turning my attention to other parts of the Doctor Who media collections. Honestly, a lot of people have been asking, hey, Sean, are you going to go for the Big Finish audios next? Probably not next, just because there's so bloody many of them. Next, actually, what I want to get is the IDW comics, because those are all technically out of print now. So I'm probably going to focus my effort on the comic books for a while. And the other thing I want to get and focus my efforts on right now is the Target books, the Target novelizations. I used to have quite a sizable collection of those. They were among the things that went missing in that box that fell off the moving truck many moons ago that I always keep referencing. Yeah, there's this wonderful magical box that if it still existed would be full of so many amazing things. Anyway, all my Doctor Who books were in there, save for a handful that were in other boxes. But yeah, so that's basically my primary focus with the collection at the moment, is getting as many of the Target books as I can get my hands on. I know there's a few that are stupidly expensive because they had really low print runs, so probably not going to get those unless I luck out and find them cheap in a used bookstore or something. And then more of the, you know, Doctor Who music CDs and stuff like that is some stuff that I like to focus on. So that's sort of the next phase of the collection. After that, you know, and I'm not saying I won't pick up any Big Finish stuff. I'll probably pick up a few. But at very least, I'd like to get the Tom Baker ones, because I do love me some Fourth Doctor action. So, I don't know. You'll probably see some random ones that I pick up periodically. Actually, really interested in the Time War stuff that's coming out. They got the 8th Doctor Time War set, and then you got a trilogy of box sets featuring the War Doctor. Might check those out. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? I'm just rambling now. This is an update of things that I'd like to get but haven't yet. Yes, there you go. How exciting is that? Yes, the Doctor Who wish list. It is long. Alrighty, that is it for this week for Timey Wimey Tuesday. We'll see you next week for something else. I'll leave it as a surprise. Until then, I'd like to thank my Patreon sponsors. Thanks, Patreon sponsors. Big special thanks to Kyle Pellegrini for being my highest level sponsor presently. Really appreciate the support. And yeah, and to everyone else, please do consider becoming a Patreon sponsor, because it just means, you know, the more sponsors I have, the more stuff I can do for you. You know, it really helps out a lot, even if it's just $1 a month. I mean, that's something. If everybody of all my subscribers contributed like $1 a month, I could do this all the time. Like, day job? Who needs that? I've got freaking Patreon. Yeah. Anyway, that is it for this week. We'll see you next week. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara.